Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary, it's time for the podcast. I just want you to know I see you there, and I know you're having trouble sleeping, and I'm here to help. This podcast is definitely silly, but that's really the foundation of it, is that you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, and I'm here to, take your mind off stuff while you fall asleep. It's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. And I cannot thank you enough, those of you that help keep the show going by either listening through the credits or going when you're handed to the fridge tomorrow to sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors. Thank you so much, and these are the ways we keep the show going. Hey, everybody, it's Scoots, and we're doing a push for our Patreon. We're trying to get our Patreon numbers back up to where they were last year. I know it's a tough time for everybody, but think about it. If you had to pay for the podcast, what if you had to pay $0.25 an episode or 10 cents an episode? How many episodes do you listen to every single month? Could you consider, if you're in a financial position to do so, supporting the podcast at $5, $10, $20 a month? Could you do that? Are you in a position to support the show? You could do it annually, but I don't even know, so 10 cents a month, I don't know how many episodes it is. Would you support the show at $5, $10, $20 a month? I guess this is, I'm caught in my own meander trying to pitch you on supporting the Patreon, but basically the pitch is, if you listen to Sleep With Me on a regular basis and you're in a financial position where you could support the show at $10, $20, $5 a month, or you could support it annually, you save, I think, 8% or 1 month when you support the show annually. If you can do so, please consider doing so. Right now would be an amazing time to support the show. We're really at a crossroads because of, everything that's going on in the world. We've lost a lot of patrons. We have a lot of patrons that don't have valid payment info. And I really need you to consider becoming a patron right now. And it's a great time to become a patron. We're just about to launch our Discord community. We've got tons and tons of amazing bonus content. We're doing fun community activities. So there's a lot of fun stuff going on. But the main reason people support the show, patron after patron after patron, whose people have been patrons since I started the Patreon, is because they get so much out of the podcast. They love being a part of it, paying for something they get value out of versus all the other stuff you pay for you might not even use. So please consider it. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron, sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. It'd be a huge, huge help. And let's get on with the show. All right, everybody. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. And I don't know if you've ever felt burnout. Like sometimes when I have a bunch of deadlines coming up and I'm thinking about them a lot, I'm working a lot, and I'm feeling a lot of feelings about my thoughts, the deadlines, the work. That's when, and then I have family stuff, and then something unexpected comes up. That's when I start to feel burned out, and it can be really stressful, right? And it can get in the way of my sleep and get in the way of me being present for my daughter. And it can just be really unpleasant and challenging. And normally we associate burnout with work, but that's not the only cause. Any of the roles in our life can lead to feeling burned out. And BetterHelp Online Therapy wants to remind you to prioritize yourself. Talking with someone can help you figure out what's causing stress in your life. And that's where therapy comes in for me, because I have a set time every single week where I know I have a safe place to talk it over with someone trusted who's going to be there for me, to listen to me, to help me get to the bottom of it. Therapy is a really important keystone in my life. And if you're feeling burnt out, or you don't want to feel burnt out, or you want tools to deal with being burned out, or someone to talk to about it that's there to listen and to help you get through it and deal with it and put it in perspective. Just like anyone in my personal life, I'd say, why don't you try BetterHelp? BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Give it a try. Sleep With Me listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/sleepwithme. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/sleepwithme. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody, it is time for the Sleepy Supporter Zone, a critical part of the podcast where I thank the listeners who supported the sponsors, told the sponsors that their sponsorship, the reason they supported the sponsor was because they heard about them on Sleep With Me. Especially if you do that on social media, it really helps us keep our sponsors, their direct response sponsors, meaning they support the show based on how many people support them. It's not like brand awareness. So it is huge. It's critical to keeping the show free for everybody. So I want to thank Kyle. Kyle just moved to the East Bay, California, and Kyle got a brand new Helix bed. Let Helix know about it. Let me know about it. If you support a sponsor, tag them, tag me in a social media post. Fill out the form at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors, and I'll send you like a cameo style video saying thanks. So I got to meet Kyle in person at the live show. So thank you, Kyle. The second part of the Sleepy Supporter Zone is you getting the support you need. If you're in extra need right now, please use the links to the resources in the show notes. It's about being a part of community, being a part of positive change, not just saying support Ukraine, not just saying Black Lives Matter, not just saying stop AAPI hate, but taking action, learning more. So there's links to resources. We could do that in the show notes. And it's also about being an active part of community. We're building hygiene kits for people experiencing homelessness. As I'm recording this, I'm about to drive 400 kits down to the Midnight Mission in Los Angeles and drop them off. And I'm so proud of everybody that's participating. Next month, we're going to be doing it in person during the live show and on Zoom. So if you want to be a part of our community and a part of positive change and have fun, why don't you think about it? You could build 5, 10, 20 hygiene kits, watch along with the live show, chat with other listeners before the show and after. You could do that for free. You just sign up for our newsletter, sleepwithmepodcast.com/midnight mission. All the information will come that way. Thank you so much for that. And Mystery Bard, a lot of people help out on the show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes too. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Hannah like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. I'm at Dearest Scooter on Twitter and Instagram. And sign up for our newsletter, sleepwithmepodcast.com/midnight mission. Be a part of some fun, be a part of positive change. And what do you say we slow it down and get on with the show? Hey, everybody, Scoots, and I just want to let you know this is an all-intro episode. We put these out over holidays here in the U.S., long weekends in the U.S., and these are very popular on Patreon. If you love all intro episodes, they come out twice a month on Patreon, and there's also hundreds in the archives for $10 and $20 patrons. So sign up at sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. Not only be supporting the show you love, or that puts you to sleep. Let me not get ahead of myself. I don't know. It's like a really popular reward or benefit of being a patron and supporting the show financially. And that enables us to be here for everybody else, free twice a week. And that helps us produce the show and keep it going. So yeah, enjoy these intros after intro after intro. Thanks. And what do you say we get on with the show again? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you can set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, changes in time or temperature, situation, schedule. So thoughts that are coming up for you, things you're feeling physically or experiencing emotionally. Whatever it is, I'm here to take your mind off that. Get this safe place. moving my hand now in, I think, a clockwise motion. Now a counterclockwise motion, smoothing. Now right in like a side-to-side motion, smoothing, patting, and rubbing down that safe place that I've set aside for you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my voice, once you get comfortable, well, I'll already do it, but you could pause it and get comfortable, or go ahead and get comfortable while I talk. Either way. But I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use a lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents, go off topic. I'm going to get mixed up. Totally, I'm one of those people I totally get mixed up on purpose. Use filler words. Oh, boy. Those, you see, how do you plan your filler words out, Scooter? Well, it's interesting. What I do is I fill a wagon up with filler words. And for real? Well, no, actually both. Believe it or not, I do both in my brain. I find that if I tactilely do it in person, then in my brain, I might as well finish this metaphor out, huh? Well, I was going to try to explain to the new listeners some things, but so I take a wagon. Of course it's a red wagon. You know what? It's, of course not. It's a purple sparkly wagon that was once red. But then I said I always wanted something purple and sparkly. Yeah, with that glossy sparkle paint you'd see on a car in like that second Fast and Furious movie. I think that was the one. It was the one to have a car, you know what I mean? Like those sparkles, glitter. No, it's not glitter. I guess it's a bit glittery. It glitters, but it's not glitter. But that's what my wagon looks like. But it's also full of filler words. More than one. Yeah, more than one and ah in that wagon. And then what I do is once I get it really full to overflowing, but at least initially, and I don't know if this is Sisyphean or just, I call it my daily routine is what I call it. Sisyphus, if I'm anything like Sisyphus, which the odds are 100%, when Sisyphus' day begins, or the dude with the rock, Golong or whatever, I don't think that when they get to work they have any idea. Maybe part of their brain does, because that's supposed to be like part of their thing of the bad place or whatever. But really, they say, gonna get it. We're gonna get in water. I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna have myself this water's this. They just think it's a regular day, and it doesn't really dawn on them. Or I guess me. You're right. I'm talking about you, but I'm really talking about me, Sisyphus. Oh, it's Sisyphus. It's not Sisyphus. Okay, excuse me. Believe it or not, I was trying to make a metaphor about a wagon full of filler words before I realized, how similar our lives are. Oh, you're not you're you were once you were. I assume you got yourself in that situation because, maybe there are life lessons to be learned here. I had no idea. What would you, if you could return to Earth, would you change your name to Sisyphus? Why would you? I think it's catchy. What about Sisyphus Sisyphus? Like I think it would be good if you were a civics teacher too. Yeah, like civics, or you could have a podcast. Yeah, civics. It would be hard to say, but I'm sure you'd be up for it. No, I'm just here. You believe it or not, here's the thing, Sisyphus, you're right. I'm here on a stealth mission. I just realized it to take your mind off of stuff. And the rock person, Golong. I know that's not your name. It's a bit. I don't really know what Golong's name is. Also, no offense, if you're rolling a rock up and down, I'd think about changing my name to Golong. Well, no, not go along. Golong. I don't know how many I think you put an extra syllable in there. Golong's 2 syllables. Golong is kind of like 2.25 syllables. Sisyphus, I don't need to be told that there's no such thing as 0.25 syllable. See, did you see what I did there? Anyway, what I was telling everybody, well, now that I have the two of you here listening and I'm taking your minds off of stuff, I'm feeling pretty confident. I'm trying to make a metaphor about the podcast, which is usually structurally with the podcast what to expect if you two ever come to my world and teach civics and roll. You could be a professional rock roller. Golong. I like saying Golong. It really, it makes my chest feel strong and full. Go ahead and say it, Golong. I know sometimes I accidentally say it and it sounds like Golong, but it's Golong. Like, just like you were hitting a gong. What's a gong? I think you've been chasing that rock too long. Oh, you don't chase it? Well, maybe you should change it up. When it rolls back down, chase it. Okay, but anyway, I was trying to explain with the new podcast listeners. Structurally, the show starts off with a few minutes of business. That's how we keep the show free. Then there's an intro where I ramble for about 12 to 15 minutes about nothing, kind of. I mean, pretty close to what we're doing now, to take people's mind off stuff, kind of introduce them to the podcast if they're new. But then a regular listener, they kind of decide how they want to listen. Some regular listeners wind down to the intro. A small percentage skip the intro. Other listeners just start playing it before they get in bed. So there's a variety of ways to use it. You could fall asleep during. You're right, Sisyphus. Sisyphus, okay. Why don't you call yourself a correctivist? Sorry, I just, I know you, okay. I was really trying to tell people about my wagon that I fill with filler words, thank you, correctivist. That could be your, like when you're correcting papers for your civics class, you could go into that role. Then it would be okay to be correctivist, whatever, okay. I've always had issues with teachers, even when they're imaginary characters from Pandemonium or wherever you're located. Oh, you're not in that. Okay, so the new listener, if you're listening still, sorry, I've got a little distraction here. But so the intro is just a long, rambly intro to the podcast, but it's part of the show. And it's part to help you wind down. Then after the intro will be a little business, then the story, which will be about 45 minutes. Then there'll be some thank yous at the end of the show. That's the structure show. If you're new, a couple other things to know. You don't need to listen to this podcast. You can just kind of barely listen. If I ever get to the wagon metaphor, maybe it won't make any sense. But I guess it's not that different than watching. Well, I guess if you were watching a kid with a wagon and things were bouncing out of it, you would probably intervene and say, "Hey, kid, you're losing your cookies or whatever. You're what are those called? Funbot 2000. Are those mega blocks falling out of there? So let me help you." Or is that for your lemonade stand? Are you losing all your lemons? I guess in that case, if a kid had a wagon full of lemons and you were in a high lemon area, that might be the only time you wouldn't intervene, where you'd say, well, it's okay for the kid to lose a few lemons. That's a life lesson. Life, trying to make lemonade out of lemons and also losing, I've lost my lemons a few times. But what I was saying is you don't need to listen to the podcast. You can kind of almost passively consume it if you wish. Though some people listen, you can choose as you get to know the show what works for you. But also there's no pressure to fall asleep. The reason the shows are an hour is I'm here to keep you company as you drift off. So you just fall asleep at your leisure. I'm here to be your boar friend, your boar bay, your boar cuz, your boar sib, your boar bud. Be at your side, chitter-chattering away and helping you drift off. So that's structurally what to expect. You don't need to listen to me. And yeah, I'll be like a lot of the content of the show feels a little bit like words falling out of a wagon. And if I was an adult with a wagon full of words, and and ahs were both, I would assume ums and ahs and uhs and ers are pretty compostable anyway and are easily swept off the sidewalk by a gentle breeze. So if you saw me going down the street, also they're only 2D. So once it falls on the pavement, it's not they're 2D and they have a lot of traction. So not something you have to worry about stepping on or something. You would probably just let me keep going if everything's bouncing out of my wagon. You'd say, there goes Scoots. Too many ums and ahs. So many. I've never seen a wagon full of pregnant pauses, but that if you did, you would pause. I can't even imagine. The images that are running through my mind are very cute. You'd say, that would be interesting if I walked up and down the street with a wagon full of pregnant pauses. Everyone would pause. They'd be like, holy cow, that is the cutest thing I've ever seen. What is in that wagon? Well, it's a wagon full of pregnant pauses. Oh, boy. With one pun sitting on the back of it. So, a winky, winky, winky poo. But so, I don't know what, I guess I thought there would be a let me just check back in with Sisyphus and Golong. Oh, they're sleeping. Perfect. To talk about conquering myths. I mean, I don't want to apply for any awards, but at least those two, when they come hang with me after, because also if you two could wake back up, everybody else is asleep, including the people that were keeping an eye on you and the mechanisms. So we could just jump out of here. I got a wagon. Okay, go along. And so if you two get in the wagon, I'll pull you. Great, I got Sisyphus and oh, no. Oh, you're not, you really are Golong and Sisyphus. What about Sisyphus and the other? Everybody in the wagon. So I'm going to pull them out of here. But basically, if you're new to the show, give it a few tries. That's what 99% of reviewers and listeners I hear from say, that it took them two or three tries. Because one, you're skeptical. If you have trouble sleeping, of course you are. Who declares they're going to be here to put you to sleep? Not me. I'm going to be here while you fall asleep. Or if you can't sleep, I'm going to be here till the very end to keep you company. But also, it's just the show's a little bit different, so it can take a little bit of adjusting. If you can't sleep, if you try the podcast a few times or you're finding you definitely don't like it, go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. And you can see some options there. And I think that's it. I'm glad you're here. I worked very hard. Oh. I don't know what's cuter, Sisyphus and Golong curled up in a wagon together as I pulled them along, or a wagon full of pregnant pauses. You'll have to decide that. But I'm here. I work very hard. I appreciate your time. I yearn and I strive because I want to help you fall asleep. And here's a couple of things we do to keep the show going. Sleep With Me is brought to you by Progressive. Have you tried the Name Your Price tool yet? It works just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll show you coverage options that fit your budget. It's easy to start a quote, and you'll be able to find a rate that works for you. It's just one of the many ways you could save with Progressive. Get your quote today at Progressive.com and see why 4 out of 5 new auto customers recommend Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. It's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, so stuff you're feeling physically, experiencing emotionally, or, contemplating, or, in my case, ruminating, heavy on the room, which, I think just because that sounds like something you say, well, I prefer, with not ROOM, obviously. Anyway, what I'm going to do, whatever's keeping you awake, I'd like to take your mind off of that. It could be anything, I'm here to keep you company, to distract you as you drift off into sleep. Way I'm going to do it is, I got this nice, safe place, plenty of room, shows plenty of time. You got a long, landing strip here, descent. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. I'm going to take my time, I'm going to get, there's a warm up and a cool down combined into one layer, parallel layers. You say, well, there's a warm up layer in the podcast, a cool down layer all the way through. So yeah, I mean, basically the reason I make the show is because I've been there, in a lot of the cases, and, I might not know exactly what you're dealing with, but I do know how it feels when you can't fall asleep and you got to get up, or you wake up. This morning, woke up. I had an early alarm for a weekend. I'm recording this on a Saturday, and then I woke up a half hour before that, and I said, "What the heck?" I said, "A rip off," to myself. So I know what it's like. Whatever your case may be, I'm here to help. Now, if you're new, couple of things to know, well, right up front, kind of up front. Structurally, show starts off with business. That's how we keep the show free for everybody. And thank you, everybody that participates in that. Then there's an intro. The intros are about 12 to 15 minutes or so. And it's kind of a big part of the podcast, but there's no, after you start listening regularly, there's no wrong way, even initially. You just want to make it the easiest way if you're really new. But if some listeners skip the intro, like maybe 2-3%. Some listeners fall asleep during the intro. A lot of listeners use it as kind of their wind down, as their cool down. They're cooling down and warming up their bed at the same time, to descend into sleep. So the intros are a little bit different than a normal podcast intro, where it'd be like, I'm hammy pod cool coming at you, and here's the show. I do that part, then I do a setup for the show. It's a part of the show. And the podcast does not work for everybody, but for almost, I'd say 95% of people that it does work for, which is a pretty good amount of people, they say it took through 2 or 3 tries. So if you want, if you're up for it, give it 2 or 3 tries, because I'm just here to help you fall asleep. Now, if you've given it 2 or 3 tries and you say, well, this isn't for me, but I'm still looking for a way to fall asleep, or you're already saying this is definitely like Scoots, not sure you and I are cut from the same, cloth, and I want to say that to you more intensely. Go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. There's resources there for other things, some things that I listen to in other sleep podcasts. And then there's also some options. If you say, well, Scoots, I got to tell you how I feel. There's options in there. So that's, if you do, give it a few tries, because I just want to help you fall asleep. I believe you deserve a good night's sleep. I believe you deserve a life where you can flourish, so you feel you're rested and you can do that. And of course, you deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. Now, a couple other things. This is one podcast you don't need to listen to. You may have figured that out already. You can kind of listen. You can totally listen either way, or whatever in between, to turn it down to a murmur or listen to my every word. The reason I make the show is so you don't need to listen. But if you do need to, if you need company in the deep, dark night, I'm here to the very end to keep you company. And that's kind of how the podcast works. Somehow, by me keeping you company, no strings attached, you could fall asleep. Or if you don't, I'm here, because, like I said, I've been there. So no pressure. Listen. Oh, I guess that kind of says no pressure to fall asleep either. That's why the shows are an hour. That's why you can listen back to back to back to back. And that's why the podcast is free. So you say, well, okay, well, yeah, this puts, and I say, well, okay, I don't understand this. That's what most people's reaction is the first 2 or 3 tries. What is this? What the heck? Who in the what's it? Is he still talking about what's it? Is he talking about how's it's now? Now, is he transitioning to use the end of that word because he started to think about sea breeze and astringing? Is he going to go back to that joke where he used like whatever the thing we call the Latin verbiage yes, I am. A strang, what's a stringe, a strange, a strung, a strees. Oh, maybe it's esorum esos es. That would be a strees, which I think is stringe. So a strange, a strang, a strung. Like that would be like in some sort of home with in a 1980s home where skincare came first. You say, well, this I don't know if you're going to live under my roof. It's skincare first. You know, that's a home I've never lived in. Like I mean, like it where it's a first. You say. I mean, it might be a good thing, but I'm just going to talk about the goofy parts about skin. You say, so, you know, before you eat your dinner, don't worry, Papa. I've estranged. I've estranged, I stringed, I stranged, and I strunged. You say, okay, sweetie pie. Okay, Junior, great work on the astringing. Oh, astringent, you might not know what I'm talking about. I barely do. It may not be relevant. I think it is, though. Like, so there's this thing called astringent, right? Maybe, I don't think I've ever purchased witch hazel. And I say, okay, that's probably, like, needs to be renamed. Though I'm pretty sure it's the exact name of a pet, but uh, it now just made now see this is where I go off topic. Now I'm imagining being at a party, like a dance, when we were at peak Hazel, with the name Hazel was at its peak, and you're at a school dance, and you say, "Wait a second, you like witch hazel?" And then everyone would like that's true though. If you were at a dance and your best friend, you say you kissed witch hazel, uh, like you'd or which of the hazels did you kiss? I guess would be another way, but that's pretty formal to say to your best friend. I guess like you don't know how you'd what hazel who you could say that's pretty funny without even a witch hazel joke. You'd say hazel who. Hazel who was that in one of the Seuss books? Was Hazel one of the Who's? I think that would like. Well, I don't know if we ever had peak Seuss, but like original Seussage, like maybe Hazel. I know someone may be listening, and then maybe like when you wake up tomorrow, you say, well, "Let me." When was Hazel popular? I believe my eyes are hazel. I never made that association with witch hazel, but I was trying to explain the fact that astringent is this thing you take here's the thing, and I'm perfectly honest. I don't think I've astringed my skin since the last time I joked about this on the podcast. I mean, it's the winter here when I'm recording this, so it's like I'm not using multiple layers of sunscreen multiple times a day, just, one morning moisturizer. But astringing is like when you take this thing, I think it's mostly like alcohol or witch hazel, which I don't know if that's suspended in alcohol. And then and usually has a nice blue tint. The sea breeze, that's why I like sea breeze. Sea breeze and sleep with me. Two things you'd never associate with one another that go great together. It's like fresh breeze, sea breeze, and sea breeze, sleep with me edition. Now in purple. That's sea breeze, folks. Actually, no offense, I usually get the store brand because, they really upcharge for that sea breeze, that's extra breeze. Sea breeze, formally sponsor of Sleep With Me. Now, we're not speaking. Okay, where was I? Oh, so then you take that, you put it in a cotton pad or a cotton ball, and you wipe your face with it, and I think it degreases. We talked about this a long time ago. Degreases or deglazes your face. I don't know what deglaze, like I've never gotten to like what deglazing really is. I've seen it on shows, and I'm pretty sure I've done it before. Deglazing, Hazel de Glazel. That's another character. That was one of the great lost Seuss books, Hazel de Glazel. She was the wisest from Snooftown, Hazel de Glazel. It might be a new code name for me. Is Scoots changed his name to Hazel de Glazel, and no one in the world, even the greatest experts in words, and even with Helen's help from the illusionist, he couldn't even figure out how to spell the laser without making a laser in there, because then he would never be able to say his name without getting even further distracted. So it's basically something you use to clean your face. And I guess so that took me so off the topic that we don't really get to spend any more time with this wonderful family we just met, whose top priority is skincare. Good question, though. I can hear you asking it. No one in that family is a dermatologist. They just have like their priorities. So they say could be skincare, doing good for others, kindness, and maybe it's like an accidental generational association. But in this case, it's a good one. They say, well, when my skin feels good, I feel good. I do good. Well, you say, what belief system, sleep with me, a belief system formed around sleep with me in 2022, after Scooter changed his name and, moved to Snoofville, formed Snoofville. And what was the belief system based around sleep with me? Was it like some sort of sleeping, no, it's based around skincare and kindness. That all kindness comes with kindness to your skin. Largest organ on your body, in it, but probably. Though some say the tongue, but I don't know if that's true. In my case, it's just, you're right. It's whatever organ produces hot air. Thanks, brain. So anyway, if you're new, that was a good example of how the show will go from here on out. I'll talk about one thing, then I'll see something over there. Then I'll be sitting down at a dinner table with a family who's got their priorities in order. We can't say anything else about that. And, then I'll take a trip to Snoof Town or whatever. All this meandering is so if you need me here, I'm here to talk to you. But if you don't need me, you just need me nearby, you could just drift off in any of those turns. I think that's it tonight. After the intro, I think I started going off topic when I was explaining the structure of the show. But after the intro, we'll have some business. Then we'll talk about Game of Thrones. Then we'll talk about some stuff that came up on Game of Thrones. Then we'll have a visit from Tom and Pounce. Then we'll have prayers to the old gods and the new. And then we'll have the thank yous and the good nights. So really long episode. And, I guess that's it. I'm really here to help to take your mind off stuff and keep you company. I appreciate you checking the show out. I appreciate your time. And I yearn, and I work very hard because I want to help you fall asleep. So thanks again. And thanks, because here's a couple of ways we keep the show going. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, changes in time and temperature, changes in routine, whatever it is. So stuff you could be on your mind. It could be feeling physically. It could be coming up emotionally. Whatever's keeping you awake. It could be any of those things. It could be other stuff. I'm here to take your mind off stuff and keep you company. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. I'm going to go off topic, barely. I'll go off topic. Maybe I won't. I'll definitely go off topic. I don't know if I'll ever get back. I'll meander. I get mixed up. I forget stuff. Go on tangents. I'm going to send. Did I say I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night? I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones. Nice, smoothed out, safe place. And the show is really here. If you're new, welcome. I'm glad you're here. That's one message. Two, a couple pieces of information. Structurally, if you're new, what to expect. Show starts off with business. That's literally how we've made the show for almost 800 episodes. So it's here to... so show starts off with business. That keeps the show free. Then there's an intro. The intros are around 12 to 14 minutes or so. And it's kind of your bedtime wind down, a little bit of a check-in, a little bit of a wind down, where I'll kind of explain what the podcast is, get you settled in, and you can slowly wind down. Then there'll be some business between the intro and the episode. And then tonight will be our episodically modular series, Big Farm in the Sky PI, Season 2. And then the show closes out with some thank yous and good nights. So that's the structure of the show. And what else? The intros. It gives you a little more info on the intro structure, because some people get confused. They feel like new listeners, which is natural. If you're skeptical or you're confused, you're probably in the right place, because I would be skeptical too. And this podcast is very confusing. Naturally, by me just being myself, it travels a circuitous route. But so structurally, the intro. So the intro, some listeners fall asleep during the intro. The majority of listeners kind of use it as part of their getting ready for bed routine. That's just kind of how the show's made. So you say, okay, I'm getting ready for bed. We got scoots on. Maybe do some light hair brushing, some petting of pets. Maybe kiss, no petting, because but maybe kiss on the cheek. Maybe you kiss your own shoulders. That's what I like to say. I don't know, that has barely caught on with listeners. But if you're looking for like something that is not only symbolic of self-care and self-love, but it was also, I think I'm no expert in the end, like any of the inner workings of the human body, but I could tell you whether you're kissing a clothed or exposed to shoulder, or nuzzling it, or, light kiss of your own shoulder. You like, I'm going to do it now. And my I have a shirt on, but I say, okay, and do it slow. Don't instantly jump into a shoulder kissing routine. You don't want to, ease your way into it. It gives you a little stretch. Here, I'll do it again. I just kissed both shoulders, but it's just, or a peck, I guess. But those are, so the intro is part of people's wind down routines. About 2% of listeners skip the intro, go right to they listen to the sponsor messages, and then the episode, just portion, they skip ahead. And some listeners, or more listeners that you'd be surprised, I hear from, listen during the day, because it's kind of like a little break. When they need a little break in the day, they put on Scoots, and ideally make things feel okay. So that's the structure of the show. As far as rules go, we don't really have any rules. There's a lot of different ways to use this show. But here's a couple of things you don't need to listen to me. So don't feel bad if you fall asleep right away, or if you change the volume or the speed of the show. Don't worry about those things. Those are perfectly natural ways to do it. What was my point? There's no wrong way to, you don't need to listen to me. That was point 1. 2, no pressure to fall asleep. I really want you to know, I'm going to hear, the reason the shows are over an hour is to give you plenty of time to drift off as you need it. So no pressure to fall asleep, and no pressure to pay strict or close attention. Because, I'm going to be here for a while. So, but you ease into sleep. That's why the shows are made in an hour. The show episodes are complete, because they make the show just as much for the people that fall asleep in the first few minutes as they do for the people who can't sleep at all. Like, I'm here to keep you, if you say, Scoots, I got worse, like, whatever, I got a birthday tomorrow, and I can't, I said, don't worry, I'm going to be here all the way to the end to keep you company. That's really my job. Whether you hear me or not, I'm here for you. That's really what the show's about, mainly to take your mind off of stuff. There's no pressure to fall asleep or no pressure to listen, because I'm here to walk at your side as you drift off at your leisure. And the reason I make the show, and you'll be hearing this like in a totally different time than when I'm making this, but the show just had actually a big anniversary for sleep, people that, with sleep stuff. Was the spring ahead a couple days ago. And so this is the show's, I think, so 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019. It's our sixth spring ahead. And that's kind of a big deal because the springing ahead is, it S-U-C-K-S, like an exclamation point, all caps and bold it. And so it's really my honor to make this, get past the sixth springing ahead. Now, not everyone in the world has this daylight savings time, they call it. And there are pluses to it. Like, I don't know, like, again, people debate, why don't we keep it or whatever. It does make this, it changes the time. You go ahead an hour. Usually it's Saturday night, Sunday morning. Sunday morning, technically around 2 a.m. or something. It becomes 3 a.m. or 1. I don't actually understand it myself. And, it tends to just not be easy for people, not only because it changes your sleep, it changes the time. It changes your relationship with daylight initially, depending on what time your schedule. And also just for me, it makes me think about stuff. It makes me think, oh boy, I didn't realize that's what happened to me. I was on an elevator at a hotel when I saw the sign. It was on my general radar of things I forget about, and then, of course, I never know the date. So I said, is that next to Saturday? No, they wouldn't have a Xerox photocopy of a clock from like a Print Shop Deluxe 97 or whatever up on this elevator. So I said, maybe that's, and then I said, what day is it? Because I was at a conference and it was Friday. And I said, oh, no, that's tomorrow. And I said, well, I'll still be here tomorrow. So it looks like I'm springing ahead. And I said, oh, great, because I was already on the East Coast. So my time was, I live on the West Coast. Oh, so what's the daylight savings? So when you move your clocks ahead an hour, it keeps us on our toes. I think that's the official, from the daylight savings office. They say daylight savings time keeps you on your toes. Good for getting on your kids' nerves if they have to go to bed and the sun's still up. Since whatever friggin' year we invented this thing. So for me, and this is just an example of why I make the show, because I've been there, and I guess I'm not trying to rehash any of this stuff, but I guess it's far in the past. Oh, that's what kind of my point is. Okay, so then I had a 4-hour time change because I was already on East Coast time. Then it springs ahead and again. Yeah, but I was kind of used to it. But then also I was leaving on a Monday morning very early on a flight. So I had to be up around 5:30 a.m. And I know a lot of you can relate to this. And so then a lot of different internal mechanisms started. Gears started. Winding would be an inaccurate term. Grinding, moaning, those type of things. Because they said, okay, how many alarms do I need to set? How much sleep am I going to get? Those kind of things. We call them brain bots. I won't dig too deep. Except to tell you that I wish the part of me that went through all that, that's here with you now, the time traveler, could have said to me at the moment that night, like around 7, when I was like a pinball bouncing off, I said, hey, Scoots, listen, don't worry. Like, yeah, you're trying to go to bed between 10:30 and 11:30. I realize with the springing ahead and everything, that's confusing. Even if you fall asleep at like 12:30, that'll be about 5 hours. You'll hopefully get a decent. You can also sleep. You got a 6-hour flight, so you'll be able to sleep on the plane a little bit. And I don't think you'll be you'll sleep on the plane a little bit. You'll get home. And then you could just go to bed early at your normal bedtime, and I think it'll work out. I mean, I realize it's very intense, and I realize you have valid concerns about your alarms and getting up and getting to it's not easy. But I just want to be here, and I can't do that for myself. That's why I do it for you, to say, hey, I just want to take your mind off of stuff. It's going to be one. your concerns are valid, and it's not easy when you're thinking about all this stuff. But here, I'm going to be here to kind of take your mind off stuff, tell you a story. And, I guess like even I'm resistant to someone saying, don't worry, it's going to be fine. Sometimes not, even if it was me telling myself, there's one way to do it. There's another way to do it, to be like, what if, a breath of relief, a breath of fresh air to say, hey, I think it's going to be okay. Or I don't know what the right wording is, because even then I say, why don't you mind your own business? You say, well, actually, I'm a part of yourself from the future. Just telling you slept 2 hours on the plane. It was great. And you're still able to get 4 hours of work done on the plane and sleep 2 hours. Then you had an hour BART ride where you got another hour of work done. And then you got home, you got everything done, then you went to bed at 9:30. So, but I just, I think it's okay. It's okay to be concerned. Yeah. So it's, I don't know if that's quite the essence of the show. I don't know if that's quite the essence of the show, but I just want you to know, that I go through that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I don't know if that's what you're here looking for, especially if you're new. He's a caring shifter, a caring shoulder kisser. I kiss my own shoulders, but I also encourage you to kiss your shoulders. That does sound like a punchline on a, what do you call those things? Sitcom, though. Kiss your own shoulders, Bert. It's actually, as part of my self-care routine, I will. Thank you. Maybe like when they leave the restaurant, they say, don't forget to kiss your own shoulders. That could be a sign. Above a restaurant, that would be an interesting place to eat. Karen's Karen. That was what we'd call it. Karen's Karen. Because there's also like I don't even know what that is. But anyway, main message I wanted to let you know is reason I make the show is because I want to help. Now, this podcast doesn't work for everybody, but the majority of listeners, which is a lot that I hear from, listened to said that it took 2 or 3 times until I realized this podcast is a bit different. It takes a couple times to get where you say, oh, wait a second, I get it because I don't understand it. So if you're new, give it a few tries. If you dislike the podcast, go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. That's like an option for people that it doesn't work for. It has other sleep podcasts, other things I use. But the main thing I want you to know is I'm here to help. I work very hard. I yearn and I strive, and I'd really like to help you fall asleep. I appreciate you coming by. If you're a regular listener, you're still with me as you're drifting off. These are a few of the ways we keep the show going. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, changes in time or temperature, routine, and what else? Try to take your mind off whatever's keeping you awake. Oh, it could be like anything physical coming up for you, anything you're thinking about, or anything you're experiencing emotionally, or anything else that's not those things. Sometimes a particularly well sleeping partner nearby. I'm here to say, well, that's not exactly the most sleepiest thing for me. Am I right or am I right? Elbow. Excuse me with your wonderful sleeping, lovely face, so relaxed. We're here trying to get to sleep too. But actually, believe it or not, I'm really here to take your mind off of all that. What I'm going to do is I got this safe place, where we can speak in somewhat of confidence. It really is a safe place. But there are faux and imagined elements to it. I mean, just like Main Street USA, am I right or am I right? It's feels cool. Also has faux elements. Nothing wrong with some faux elements. Actually, faux elements, that may be a new word we may have to repurpose because that is a sleep podcast word, especially if it's one word, faux elements. So hopefully I'll remember that and we can come back to it. Also, I can hear elephants saying, Scoots, are you going to talk about us? Because it's very similar. And I'd say, what do you call, what species is a pink elephant from that movie that I saw as a kid? And when I was half asleep, and were those faux elements? The pink flying ones or whatever. Oh, are they in the Tim Burton movie? Because I haven't seen it yet. Get back to, okay, thanks to all the faux elements out there. Oh, wait a second. Sorry, I just get interrupted by a periodic table, too. Actually, believe it or not, periodic table. Are you are you a sum of, believe it or not, you are a sum of your, some of your farts. Sorry, I did not mean to say that. I don't know if you even have the ability. I guess just sulfur is on there. Isn't that an element? And probably a few other ones. Is holy mackerel said, and that would be on the faux element, the periodic table of faux elements, huh? But did you have a Robert's Rule point of order or something? Because, okay, well, I'll have to get back to you. Well, I know you wanted to talk to me about, so you're proposing that your periodic table, would it be on one of those boxes below or to the side? Could we just add one more of those? We could have the faux elements. They don't have to be in their proper thing. They could be, they could maybe, I don't know, somewhere within viewing distance of helium. I'd like a view of helium and maybe a couple. Well, here's another question. Is pyrite on the faux? Could we put that on? That's not even a purposeful pun, but we could put that on faux elements. Cubic zirconia. No. Okay. Well, I'll be back then. Sorry, new listeners. Sorry about that. Usually I stay on track. Or actually, no, I don't. Usually, this is maybe the first time I've been interrupted by a periodic table. Oh, excuse me, the periodic table. You talk about a capital P. Man, no wonder holy mackerel's not on you. It's used in the Yelp reviews of, no, I'm not looking to have a contentious relationship with you. It's just, I'm trying to, okay, here, maybe I can explain it to you then. Periodic table as if you were a new listener. So Sleep With Me is a podcast that's here to put you to sleep. I send my voice across the deep, dark night, use the lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones and pointless meanders, and I go off topic, which you've been a part of. Congratulations, you're officially part of the show. And so the whole idea of the podcast is to take your mind off stuff while you drift off. It's more a podcast to be here as you fall asleep than to put you to sleep. But what else might you know? Good questions. These are good questions. I'm happy to field them. So, okay, a couple of things to know coming into it. If you're new, structurally starts off with business. That's how we keep it free. If you don't like the ads, consider becoming a patron. That also helps keep the show free. Then there's an intro. Now, unlike a normal intro or an efficient intro, like in the periodic table, you say, well, this is the letters. This is what we're talking about. This is how many electrons and whatever mass you got, or, protons. I don't know. We're not that efficient because the intro is the beginning of the show, first 14 minutes or so. And it's to help to ease you into bed in bedtime as you get ready for bed, as you're winding down. I take my time trying to figure out how to explain the podcast. And naturally, as I'm explaining it, things come up and pop into the studio. Today, we're lucky enough, watch this, listeners. I'm going to try to do some late rapport building. Today, we're lucky enough to be joined by not just a periodic table, but the periodic table of elements. Oh, wow. Holy, I don't think I've ever seen anything more informing, more useful, more related to all the things of life. I look at myself and I wonder, I wonder what parts of the periodic table exist in me. So impressive, so familiar. I don't know, actually, and not to derail my complimenting of you, but is the periodic table cross-cultural? Because that would be important to me before I, pump you up too much. Because they say, well, I'm just operating from my viewpoint, my narrow cultural window. And I'm sure people will answer me. They say, well, actually, it is like, or, well, you could be, I mean, the only reason I bring it up is because you could be even greater and more. And I'm sure you don't need to worry about the people that don't believe in that periodic table or whatever. And maybe that's what the faux elements would be. But so I'm glad you're here. That was the main thing. And that's what I always say to new listeners too. Show starts off with a few minutes of business. And then tonight it's a GOT, Game of Thrones themed episode. Now, if you don't watch the show, I just spoke to the editor, Carl, the legend. Carl said he's edited almost all of our Game of Thrones episodes over the past like 3 years, 4 years. Never seen an episode of Game of Thrones. So Carl edits the show and doesn't watch it. So you don't really need to see the show. If you're worried about being spoiled, I guess you could hold off a week or two, but I don't think you will. And then these shows are a little bit longer because it goes episode recap, stuff that came up that I investigated, Tom and Pounce and prayers to the old gods and the new. So these are pretty big episodes, just like the Game of Thrones season. So they give you even more time to fall asleep. So that's a little bit about, so it's a structure show. Then there's some thank yous at the end. There's business between the intro and the episode. It's another way we keep the show going. And I think, so that's a structure show. Also, no pressure to listen, whether you got ears or you have some elemental ears, and they are lovely. I never wondered, like elven ears and elemental ears, two different things, but they make me think of one another. Oh, there's no such thing as elemental ears. Well, I'll add it to the table of the faux elements. Maybe we'll just call it, maybe, what letters are open for elven ears? That could be a faux element. Could we also have a metaphorical, like, could that be part of the periodic table of faux elements? Like you say, well, these are metallic ones. These are metaphorical ones. What would a metallic faux element be? I'd have to look through the Crayola crayons to decide. I think maybe golden dragon scales, maybe. Sparkly chameleon. Those would be two metallic faux elements. Platinum bronze. No, that's two different elements. No, not in this case. Anyway, sorry, I got to get back to the listeners. So if you're new, including periodic tables and all the little elements who may be listening along with their periodic table, hi. Hi. Good to see you. I don't know what GA stands for, but in my book, it stands for great, or GR, or any of it, right? I don't know. Barium. I'd like to have it every day. Okay, that joke didn't. I think it does kind of work. I mean, here at the faux elements table, we're putting the pie in pie right, and we're putting the pie right. You know what I'm saying, right? I'm pandering to the elements, and they're cracking up. But so if you're here, like structurally, that's what to expect. This is a podcast you don't need to listen to. Definitely don't take it seriously because it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't really go anywhere. It's just here to keep you company as you drift off. And what else? Don't need to listen. Oh, no pressure to fall asleep. These shows are well over an hour. And I'm here the whole time to keep you company. So you drift off when you can. If you can't, I'll be here. If you wake up like 2 hours from now, I'll be here too. And you can queue up multiple episodes if you need it. I'm here to help. I'm here to keep you company. as you drift off to be your boyfriend, your borbay, your borcas, you're like, your familiar, your elemental familiar, if you don't mind me getting is it, I may not be familiar with elements, but I'm an elemental familiar. I think that's like, yeah. And I'm as friendly. There could be a song like friendly as the faux elements. Here's something, they used to have, what were those things called? Not the pound, not the puppies. What were Care Bears. Couldn't we have a show, faux elements? Could they be like an opening band for, if Care Bears go on tour, could Care Bears tour, opening act at the faux elements? Okay, I get it. So I'm glad you're here. If you're new, here's the thing. Almost every reviewer says it took 2 or 3 tries to get the idea that this podcast is out there. So give it 2 or 3 tries. I'm just here to help, really no pressure on your end to like me or the show. I just hope it helps you fall asleep, but it does not work for everybody. I hope it works for you. If you're looking for other options or you strongly dislike the show, go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. That has other, not elements now. Oh, you silly elements. So that's it, though. I'm here to help. I really work hard and I strive. I appreciate you checking this show out, and I want to help you fall asleep. Thanks again for coming by. Here's a couple of ways we keep the show going. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing trouble, getting to sleep trouble, staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'll do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, changes in time or temperature, stuff you're thinking about, basically. Anything you're experiencing physically or emotionally that's coming up for you. Or situationally, it could be traveling. You could have a change in your work schedule. You could, because of work, have to sleep during the day, or in some sort. I've heard a lot of different stories over the years, and it's always my honor to put you to sleep, to be here to help you. Those of you that I can. And the way I do it is I send my voice across the deep dark night. I use the lulling, soothing, creaky dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents, extra stuff. I go off topic. I wonder about stuff. Sometimes I wonder why, it just popped in my head. Sometimes or always, I try to go with what comes up in my mind. But what I'm going to do is send my voice. I'm going to try to take your mind off whatever's keeping you awake. I'm going to use lulling, pointless meanders. I said all that. I guess I forgot where I was supposed to go next with the intro. But here's a couple of things. If you're new, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I hope this will be a little bit of a is this a primer? Like a welcome orientation? That's kind of what these intros are. 50% of it is. So if you're new, I'm glad you're here. This podcast does not work for everybody, but give it a few tries and see if it helps you. It's a little bit different. Structurally, what to expect is show starts off with about a few minutes of business. That's how the podcast exists for free. So thank you for everybody for that. Then there's an intro. Now the intro, this is a little bit different. It can throw some people off. It's a welcome. Like a welcome center more than a. Well, I guess the history of intros would be a welcome center. But so this is just one pamphlet on the welcome center. This one particular intro. And you'd say, hold on, that's not how a welcome center works. And it'd say, well, is the welcome center the sum of a whole of its parts, or the parts of its whole, or something that is more sensible than that? So the intros are around 12 to 14 to 15 to 11 to 16 to 17 minutes. And it's where I try to make a metaphor, explain what the podcast is. It is kind of part of the podcast. Now, some people say, well, where's the bedtime story? Right around 18 to 20 minutes normally. And there is a percentage of listeners, like 2 or 3% of people that skip ahead to the story, and then a percentage of people that subscribe to our Patreon and just listen to story-only episodes. So there is a small percentage of people, you just want the story, just skip ahead to 18, 20 minutes. But if you're new, you might want to stick around and see how this goes. The intro. So the intro for a lot of listeners is part of their wind-down routine, either while they're in bed or as they're getting into bed and getting ready, just because it is part of a process. Like going to sleep for some of us is a process, would be a neutral word to describe it. You'd say it's more like a process, like a lot of people's opinion about processed cheese would be more about, but you say no cheese and bedtime and beds don't mix. Okay, how'd I get so off topic? So the intro is a show within a show. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Even though it's supposed to be an intro and welcome you, what happens is I go off topic a lot of times. So that's the intro. Then there's some business. Then there's a story. Tonight, as I'm recording this, I don't even know what the story will be. It'll be a little bit of an adventure. It could be anything. It'll be soothing. It'll be lulling. And it'll be here for you to keep you company. Then the show ends with some thank yous. So that's the structure of the show. Here's a couple other pieces of the thing if you're new. I think I probably already said this, but if you're skeptical, totally, I'd be skeptical too. Or if you're unsure, kind of try to consume it a little bit passively if you can. Like observing a magician from afar, and you're kind of watching the audience at the same time. And you're saying, clearly that magician's doing something, where if you're up close, you might say, what is a magician doing, or how are they I don't know if that's an apt metaphor or not. If there, there's like, there's a lot of books like Waiting for something, right? Waiting for Guffman, the great movie. But mine would be Waiting for an apt metaphor. I'd probably be sitting on a bench, much like Forrest. I guess maybe I'd be talking to people and lulling and soothing them. But so that's the structure of the show. And so this is kind of part of what works, is I get mixed up and my thoughts kind of cross lines. So structurally, I don't know what the story is going to be. Consume it passively. But there's no pressure to listen to me or to fall asleep. But clearly, I'm not always making 100% of sense. I'm just here to keep you company and to take your mind off of stuff. So there's no pressure to remember or to listen. And ideally, the show kind of is supposed to work in two ways, which is kind of contradictory, is that you don't need to listen to it, and you can fall asleep at any point. And ideally, it's just distracting enough to take your mind off stuff. But also, if you can't sleep, it's just interesting enough also to be there the whole time. And that's kind of the other flip side. You don't need to listen, and there's no pressure to fall asleep because I'm going to be here for about an hour. And if you can't sleep, you could queue up episode after episode. I give this show my all the way to the end. For those of you that are asleep, in some ironic way, I really think that the completeness of the episodes let you not listen. Full permission not to listen. But also, for those of you that can't fall asleep for whatever reason, I'm here. I'm here to keep you company. I'm here to be your boar friend, your boar bae, your boar bud, your boar sib. I'm in the queue to apply to be your boar bestie. But I'm here to help. That's my point on that. So no need to listen. No need to fall. No pressure to fall asleep. And I'm going to be here for about an hour. I did it like in the teaser there. I talked about robes, and then I started thinking, I haven't had a robe in a while. And here's one question: if you have a robe, do you need like a hat stand or a coat stand by your bed? I assume you don't, because I've watched enough movies. Here on TV shows, people wear robes. And in movies, that was a paper I wrote in college that did not make it. It was, because I just didn't do the research, the cinematic nature of robes. a lot of times I come up with titles for art or podcast episodes or newspapers, speeches, and delivering on those concepts. It turns out it's impossible a lot of times, but I thought that was a good title. And I said, can't I get like a C just for the title? Like, isn't that a passing grade? Come on, teach. You know the cinematic nature of Robes. There's potential there. So that's like a C. And they said, no, a D means it has potential that hasn't been delivered. And I said, okay, well, good enough. No, I didn't. I said, well, it's just not I need a team of researchers is what, hey, AFI, if you're hearing this, what do you think about that? Right at the top, the cinematic nature of Robes, a list of 100 films and the robes that made them special, or the special robes that made the cinematic, and maybe interview. I wonder if robes could talk, that would be an episode of Everything is Alive. I was just thinking, I didn't think those tangents would come up. I was just thinking, do I need a robe and where would I put it? Would it go, would I use it? That's the most key thing. Is because if I put it on my floor, would I put it back on when I got up? I have a lot of neighbors that I live in a tight little area with where even if I walk my dog to the street, I have to pass a good number of neighbors in their windows. And in the morning, that's one of my number one priorities, other than getting caffeine in my system, is walking the dog, Koa, or right now as I'm recording this, I'm dog sitting, so I have double duty. And I say, okay, I got to get out there. We got to be with the right temperature, but I don't want to do too much work. I don't know why I think of putting on clothing as work, but let's be honest, it is. And so sometimes, this might be TMI, but I'll put it simply, I don't wear a lot to bed. I do wear boxers or whatever, or shorts. We'll just say shorts. That's a polite thing we can all agree on. But just one layer. But just because that's how I like to sleep. So when I get out of bed, usually I have to take care of personal business first. And I try, I say, well, I don't need I say, are any of the blinds up? Probably not. Then I'll go and take care of my personal business. And then I might try to drink some coffee. And then I'll say, okay, wait a second. Now I got to get something on to take the dog out. And so I wonder if a robe would be good for that. But then my neighbors would have to see me in a robe. I don't have pajama pants, but I have kind of multi-use pants you can't wear you should never wear out of the house. And one of them is a turquoise blue with pineapples on it, and they're baggy pants. I don't know where, I think I got them on a gag, but they're really good, lounging pants, or getting your pants on so you can walk the dog pants. Except if for esteemed people, or people that are worried. My daughter doesn't worry because I don't think she knows because she's still asleep that her dad's rolling out in a winter coat, flip-flops with socks on, and then these baggy pineapple pants. So I guess a robe would only exacerbate that because, and also a robe is a little bit, it does have some sort of intimacy or Jeffrey Lebowski would roll in his robe. And I guess that's one reason they say, well, okay, Scooch, give me a breakdown of the differences between Jeffrey Lebowski and you. And I'd say, well, I'm I can't smoke or drink White Russians anymore. Other differences, I don't, okay, you got me. Good news. It looks like I could wear a robe. I'm going to be looking for a robe, and maybe by the time you hear this, I may be, a owner of a robe. Maybe, what if I went into a store and said, I'm considering robe ownership? Well, that would, maybe a fancy store. Is there like, I mean, I'm sure there's a fancy, where do fancy people get the robes? Nordstrom's? Is that, but that's probably, fancy people are giggling. They say that's where the aspiring fancy people shop. And then I would look at, and I'd say, well, I aspire to return to see if there's any robes at TJ Maxx then, because I just saw the prices of your robes. Robes, where we're going, we need no robes. So, yeah, I guess I'll get a robe, because I guess I could wear it anywhere, because that whole Lebowski thing, I'd say, okay. The difference between me and Jeffrey is like, I probably move I'm a little more spry, and like, other than that, so I probably would, yeah, okay, so that's good news. I'll be robed soon. And maybe, so I don't know what my point was about that, but somehow this podcast, I think, like I said at the beginning, you take off your robe, you get in bed, you get comfortable, and then I'm here to kind of make you more comfortable or distract you from, you say, well, should I wear a robe to bed or not? Clearly, robe's not designed for any tossing or turning. It would bunch up and stuff. So I'm also here to give you friendly advice like that. Maybe, well, I guess most robes are just an accessory as part of a broader portfolio for companies. Like if there was a company that only made robes, I would say, make a robe that's made for bed. I know that reverse blanket with arms, probably. That's not a robe, though. Yeah, anyway, I guess it's time for the intro to come to a close and get to the story. Maybe I'll talk about the cinematic nature of robes. Maybe I could do some brief research or famous robes. Who knows? But I'm here to help. I'm here to take your mind off stuff. Like I said, this podcast doesn't work for everybody. But if you're new, we get a pretty good amount of listeners, and most of them say, it took 2 or 3 tries before the podcast. I knew it was for me. So I hope it is. If it's not for you, I hope you find something that does help. You can reach out to me. If you do so with a modicum of kindness, and I could try to help you fall asleep. So I'm here to help. I work very hard on this show because I yearn and I strive. I truly believe you deserve a good night's sleep. Thank you so much for your time. And here's a couple of ways we keep the show going. Hey, everybody, Scoots, I have a mattress I love. It's from tonight's sponsor, Helix Sleep. I sleep in the Helix Dusk Luxe. It is so cozy. I love getting into bed every single night. And it's a perfect mattress for me because I took the Helix quiz at helixsleep.com/sleep and got matched with it. Helix Sleep has a quiz that just takes 2 minutes to complete, matches your body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress for you. Why would you buy a mattress made for someone else? With Helix, you're getting a mattress will be perfect for the way you sleep. Everybody's unique, and Helix knows that, so they have several different mattress models to choose from. They have soft, medium, and firm mattresses. Mattress is great for cooling you down if you sleep hot. Mattress is great for spinal alignment to prevent morning aches and pains, and even a Helix Plus mattress for plus-size sleepers. And I took the Helix quiz. I got matched with the Helix Dusk Luxe because I sleep on my side, I sleep on my stomach, I sleep hot, and it meets my needs perfectly. So take the quiz and find out what mattress is going to be perfect for you. If you're looking for a mattress, all you do is you take that quiz, helixsleep.com/sleep. You order the mattress you're matched to, and the mattress comes right to your door, shipped for free. You don't ever need to go to the mattress store again. And Helix is awesome. You don't just have to take my word for it. Helix was awarded the #1 best overall mattress pick of 2020 by GQ and Wired magazine. Helix has been recommended by multiple leading chiropractors and doctors. The sleep medicine is a go-to solution for improving sleep. And you just go to helixsleep.com/sleep. You take their 2-minute sleep quiz, and they'll match you to a customized mattress that'll give you the best sleep of your life. They even have a 10-year warranty. You get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free. They'll even pick it up for you if you don't love it, but you will. Helix even has financing options and flexible payment plans, so a great night's sleep is never far away. And Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/sleep. That's helixsleep.com/sleep. Good night, everybody.